Hi, this is Sandeep, and you're watching the Indian Weekender. We are almost finishing the first 4 weeks of our lockdown, COVID-19 related lockdown. And as we all know, that the lockdown has been extended by few more days. And after that, we will be going to enter into 2 weeks of level 3 alert, which is kind of a partial lockdown with only some more businesses allowed to return back. So this is an uncharted territory where New Zealand has never been before, and real estate and property market is one area which has taken a significant hit. And nobody knows where we are at the moment and how this market will be responding once we are back out after this COVID-19 related lockdown. So to understand this better, today we have got an industry leader, I would say, none other than Peter Thompson, Managing Director of Barfoot Real Estate Agency, along with us to help us understand how this market is going to unfold. So welcome to our virtual studio, Peter. How are you today?
Many thanks, and thank you for inviting me onto your webinar. Certainly interesting times that we've all been through, and I think the last 4 weeks has been not only a challenge for many people, but also an opportunity for them to get closer to their families and take time out. So whilst there's been a economic sort of downfall, if you like, there has also been a positive that families can spend more time. And the most important thing, of course, is our health. And we can all wake up tomorrow thinking that the sun will rise and life will continue.
Surely. Well, thanks for that tip. Thanks for that inspirational start of the day. But moving forward to the bigger challenges that we are going to face about this property market. So as we all know that we have got 3 different phases now in front of us, which we can analyze. How was the market when we were just heading into the lockdown? B, during the lockdown, if there was any activity related to real estate really happening on the ground, and see how it will unfold when we eventually come out of this lockdown. So can we get your input on that? What's your take on that?
Yeah, certainly. When we were in lockdown, well, prior to lockdown, most probably the Barfoot Thompson was experienced some of the best sales period that we had. It started most probably last October, but certainly when we got through to the start of 2020, January, February, and especially March, have seen an increase in sale numbers, also equaling the increase in sale prices. March, even though we worked on three weeks before we went into COVID, was one of the best March months that the company has ever recorded. So it was certainly at a high at that time. Going into COVID-19 was then a big challenge, and when we were going from an average of 340, 350 sales per week made by our company, the first week straight after we dropped down to 88. The second week it dropped down to about 65, I think it was, and the third week we dropped as low as 30. So sales were made through lockdown, but generally that was through people that had already been through the properties prior to the lockdown day. And we've been able to do those by virtual signing of documents. So yeah, there has been the odd sale made, but certainly has had a massive impact on the real estate market.
Sure, but still there is a good signs that, as you say, that there was some minimal real estate related activities still going on even when we were locked down, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I think what it's done, not only just for the real estate industry, but for many industries, new technology has been advanced quicker than possibly what many of us either thought of or wanted. And now we are talking about virtual appraisals. We're talking about virtual viewings. We're talking about using DocuSign or other forms of signing up agreements without having the direct contact with the public. And many of us have been on many Zoom meetings, Google Hangouts, and having office drinks virtually rather than sharing it face to face. But it's just shown how we can adapt. And moving forward, I think some of these that we're looking at, including online options, are here for the future. The one thing that I'd say that we can't replace is the face-to-face contact and the, having the personal viewing of the property. And we're very pleased that the government just yesterday announced that we will have an opportunity to take one or possibly two buyers through a property on any one given day.
Well, that certainly is a positive sign. And probably a lot of our prospective buyers out there, our Indian communities, prospective buyer over there, they would be quite encouraged with that outcome, with that government decision. Now, coming to our target community that we are trying to help, we have got both a large number of prospective first home buyers and prospective, obviously, investors. So how do you think these two large sections of buyers have been coping during this lockdown?
Well, certainly through lockdown, it's been very difficult, especially for the first home buyers. The investors have most probably started to do their homework, and even with the first home buyers, well, most probably anyone looking at buying real estate, it is a good time over the next 4 to 5 days just to go on to our website www.barfoot.co.nz and just go through the properties that you're looking at and be prepared to meet the market when we open up next Tuesday. It's an opportunity for developers to have a look and get some good investments. There's going to be people that are going to need to sell. A lot of people have lost jobs. Mortgages are going to be at a stretch for some people, and sadly to say that there will be some forced sales through the coming months. It does give an opportunity for first home buyers to the market now. Good news this week that the Reserve Bank, although they haven't confirmed it, but they're considering dropping of the LVR ratios, and that will allow first home buyers to get a slightly higher mortgage with less deposit to buy a property and have an opportunity to get their first home. So, there is positive news coming out from both the government and Reserve Bank on this, and we're delighted that we're expecting a good uptake in the coming weeks of real estate.
Right. So it means that you are quite optimistic that market will pick up. Is that right to say?
Yeah, I think as I've been saying, Barfoot Thompson's 97 years old, and we've gone through many highs and lows in real estate over that 97-year period. We've been through two world wars. We've been through the Depression. More recently, we've been through the global crash. And each of those times, prices fell away very slightly, between say 5 to 10%, but have rebounded relatively quickly within the 12 to 18 months following. So whilst some people may look short term, I advise people to look at real estate, medium term. And when we look at the average tenure of a property is 7 years, people will take their time to make decisions, but there's always someone that is having to sell and there's always someone that's having to buy.
Right, okay. And if we have to define the nature of the market, would it be fair to say that the post-COVID housing market would be a buyer's market?
To be honest with you, I think that's too early to tell us. It could really be either or. When we look at what's happening around the world, and I was on a global conference last night, and China is really the first country that has opened back up, if you like, in some form of normality. And talking with their representatives, they said that activity, although slow to start with within the first week of coming out of full lockdown, has started ready to ramp up, and they're starting to see almost similar lines to what it was prior to them going into it. When you look at Singapore, they have been in lockdown, then they went out of lockdown to a similar level 3 as what we're going to, but they hadn't shut the borders, and unfortunately foreigners brought in the disease again, and where they've gone from 8 down to 8 cases reported. Currently, they're around about 1,000 cases a day, and they've now gone back into a month shutdown. So, our first priority is getting rid of COVID-19, getting rid of the virus. The second part is the real estate, but the most important thing is that we do just watch what we're doing as far as the contact of people when we're looking at property.
Fair enough to say that. Now, coming to New Zealand's perspective, since we are more adamant that's the right thing to do as well, keep our borders closed and open up our domestic economic activities. So, don't you think this COVID-19 lockdown and the way we are going to manage our borders for some foreseeable future, there will be like less migrants coming in, so there will be kind of the demand and supply issue that really dominates where our market is heading. That is also going to be affected. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right there. The borders are going to be closed for some time. I think, talking with some of the ministers, certainly the indication is that Australia may be the only one that we would open up to in the close vicinity, and that's some time away. For a while, but we always, a large portion of our foreign buyers do come from Australia. The interesting thing, talking to some of our agents in just the past week, is the number of expat Kiwis that are looking at coming back home when they can get out of their own location where they're staying. Many of them are now wanting to cash up, say in UK or Europe, and they're talking about buying big property on the coastline up in Northland, for instance. So there's a lot of activity already, a lot of interest that's come through the website on some of the prime properties.
No, that's great. Good news to hear that. Now, coming about people actually who have barely entered the market, the first home buyers who would have bought property just before heading into this lockdown period. And now probably they might be worried about their property prices going down. Do you think it's a valid concern, or they can actually look medium to long term as you are suggesting?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at a short term, you're going to worry about it no matter what. And you do have to look at it as a medium term. The thing I would say to first home buyers is just be careful how much you do borrow, because interest rates are low at the moment and are very affordable. At some stage they will go back up. So it's a matter of just maybe you've got to move out one more suburb than what you really would like to live in, but to buy something that's more affordable and within your budget, and then maybe you move again in say 2 to 3 years time to a slightly more upmarket house in the suburb of your desire. It's about just the location and the amount of borrowing that you're putting onto that property at this time.
Great, thank you. Now, talking about one more, I would say, segment of our prospective market, the aspiring investors like mom and dad property owners who always wanted to become an investor, and they have got some capital sitting over there. Do you think it is the right time for them to go aggressively in the market and look for some new investment opportunities?
Certainly, at the moment there is a shortage of rental accommodation. We are expecting that that may change with after COVID, with so many possibly losing jobs, etc. And also, although we've all been in our bubbles, most of us have been fantastic, but there'll be some that will be wanting to move away from their partners or flatmates, etc., and looking to either buy or rent something else. So investment, again, there are going to be some good buys out there. It's a matter of just taking your time and, again, looking at something that you can afford. When you work on your return, the general rule that I work on is about 48 or 49 weeks rental of the year rather than the full 52, because throughout the period, especially if there's a risk of going back into COVID-19 again, you do sometimes have to give a little bit for your tenants, because it's important to have a tenant in. You don't want a vacant property, so sometimes you've just got to reduce the rent in those cases. And I thank all the landlords, all the investors that have done that, because over the last 4 weeks, because it has not been only hard for the investor, but it's also been hard on the tenants.
Great, thank you. Now, one last question before I let you go for the day. I know you're a busy man. That if, you have already told us that government is responding quite well according to the expectations of the market and other different stakeholders. So is there something else that you think government need to do a little bit more to support the market?
Oh, there's plenty of things we think they could do, but we also have to keep in mind the health and safety, and that's what the government are coming from. I think the Reserve Bank, if they relax the LVRs, is going to be a huge advantage for property. The banks obviously have given current investors or mortgagees an opportunity of delaying their rent for 6 months. So I think both the finance and the Reserve Bank are really working with the industry, and we thank them for that. And we would love to get into level 2 sooner than later, where level 2 we will be able to have more viewings of properties, maybe open homes. Not sure about live auctions yet, depending on the numbers that attend. But again, it's an opportunity for us to look at virtual, and people will be still able to look at property, but maybe it's online rather than in person. Decide the property that they really want to buy, and then go and look in person at that time. So there's still good opportunity for us. Yes, we would like more relaxation, but if it's at the cost of COVID, we don't want to be going back into lockdown 4.
Sure, that's definitely good advice. So thank you very much, Peter. I think we had a very good, thorough discussion about how this market is going to behave. And thanks for sharing your positive view on that, because that's required a lot. People, they are definitely looking to see this market pick up. And I think based on what you are suggesting, that probably different stakeholders in the market is ready. Barfoot and Thompson is ready to see the opportunity of this crisis. So thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon about this market prospects.
Thanks, Andy, and thank you to all the viewers. As you said, Barfoot and Thompson are ready to deal with all our vendors and purchasers. And if you're thinking of buying or selling, please make sure you give us a call. We're delighted to work with you. And if you've got any questions, feel free to just email them through to us. We'd love to be able to help you. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.